Right, so for free pass, I was kind of thinking along the lines of like free passage, like a free ride somewhere, and I started getting ideas through that, but I think my story kind of fits with your theme as well. So back in 2008, I was studying abroad in Berlin for a semester, and it just so happened that one of my best friends from college, Svetlana, was living in Munich for a year, and then our other best friend was living in Vienna for 2 or 3 years, being an au pair. And so it was like a really cool thing going on where I was living up north in Berlin, we had Munich as kind of this hub, and then Vienna out east. And we'd all kind of like congregate in Munich and just have a blast. So we spent like a lot of good weekends there, and then like they would come to Munich, head up to Berlin to see me, I'd go to Vienna, whatever. So this one time I came down to Munich, headed over to Vienna to see my friend Thea, and the three of us, like, you know, just, it's totally spontaneous, totally giving, totally family, and just like, I was totally used to that. Like, they were my only people that I really had as like a family in this faraway place, and got really comfortable with that. But Ted and I spent the weekend in Vienna, and then, you know, at the end of the weekend, I had to go back and be back to Berlin by Monday, because I was volunteering for the U.S. Embassy in Germany. Just, it sounds like really way more intense, but it was just like I had to go talk to like elementary school kids at a school and talk about how in America we don't always eat McDonald's 3 meals a day, whatever. So it was like, okay, I have to be back to Berlin by Monday morning at like 6 a.m. And I stayed, like, kind of got distracted in Vienna, ran out of money, like, and then didn't really have a surefire way of getting back to Berlin. But I was like, all right, like, as long as we get, you know, a ride to Munich, then I'm good, right? Because I know Svetlana's there, I can figure out the rest. So Tay and I like spend the weekend in Vienna, you know, stay up till maybe like 3 in the morning, and then, you know, at 5 in the morning I have to like catch the train back to like the city center, catch a ride share from Vienna, like 4 or 5 hours back to Munich. I have like no money, so Taya lends me 50 euro and then her rain jacket, and I have like this little backpack, and it's just like, as I said, like totally anything that's mine is theirs, anything that's theirs is mine, which I really appreciated. So spent 4 or 5 hours in the car with a complete stranger that I found on the internet, who's willing to like take me, you know, 400 or 500 kilometers for like 30 euros or something. And then get to Munich, and my phone dies, so I don't have any way of like communicating with anyone. Money that's not mine, and then just like a backpack and rain jacket, you know, and stayed up all night. So anyways, I'm like, all right, like I gotta find Svetlana, like I'll take the train to her dorm, you know, figure it out from there. So I get to the dorm and knock on the door, no answer. Man, like, you know, that sucks. So what do? Like, you know, I wait there for a little while, she's not showing up, and then I'm like, all right, like I remember there's this guy who studies with me up in Maine, back in the US, like he's studying same things as I'm studying, we're in the same year, he's also good friends with Taya, but I had not met him, you know, for whatever reason. It was like this name that I had heard, this connection that I knew I had in this place. So I spend the next few hours going around to like the dorms, which are like 10 stories high, and like looking at the mailboxes for this guy's name to try to track him down. And finally track him down. I like take the elevator up to like the 9th floor, like knock on the door, and he opens the door. I'm like, hey Andrew, like you don't know me, but you know, we have this mutual friend, Taya. We study at the same college, you know. My name's Ryan, and like, you know, can you just let me use your computer for like 10 minutes? I gotta find a ride back to Berlin, it's super important. And he's like, no. So I'm just like, okay. You know, I don't know what to say. But in my head, I'm like really surprised by this, but I'm like, I'm not gonna like sit here and just like beg this dude to like let me use his computer, you know? It's like, all right. So I said to him, I'm like, all right, like, you know, I'll figure it out. And in my head, I'm like, all right, I guess I gotta hitchhike back to Berlin. So I stand like by the highway for like 2 or 3 hours in like the pouring rain, and I'm trying to hitchhike, and nobody's picking me up. Probably look, you know, super crazy, but I'm like drenched, like completely soaked. Everything I own is soaked. And I go back to Svetlana's dorm, and I knock on the door, she's not there. I'm sitting there, like, man. So I end up falling asleep for like, I don't know how long. And this guy wakes me up. I'm just like in the hallway of this dorm. This guy wakes me up who lives across the hall, and he's like, hey, come into my room, you know, like, gives me slippers on my feet. He's like, I'm making a pot of tea, like, I'd love for you to have some with me, like, what's going on? And I'm just like, I gotta get to Berlin. I have this super, super important thing with the embassy, and I need to be there by 6 a.m. I need to get to Berlin. So I look on my email, I use his computer, which was like so nice of him, and I check my email. Taya found me a ride share from Munich back up to Berlin. She's like, all right, this ride share is at 5. I looked at the clock, it's like 4:30. So I'm like, man, I gotta get to the city center like now basically, because my ride is leaving. So I'm like, I'm looking at the map, I'm like, all right, I can do this. You know, just because I'm completely nuts. And the guy was like, you know, go this way, transfer at this stop instead of this stop, and you'll make it. And like, I didn't even have time to like share a cup of tea with this guy. Like, you know, I don't even know if we exchanged names. Like, I don't remember, but it was just like, blew me away that he could have walked by instead of even waking me up and just like, you know, relegated me as somebody he doesn't want to associate because I'm drenched and sleeping on the floor. And you know, but he took me into his home, let me use his computer. I made it to Munich, or to the city center, caught the ride, get back to Berlin, and I pulled it off.